Welcome to The Insider at Heritage Museums and Gardens, where every other week we chat with guests and museum staff about all the exciting things that are happening in season here at the museum. This year, the museum is celebrating its 50th anniversary, so please plan to join us. My name is Judith Getz, and I'm happy to be your host today. In this episode, we're speaking with Les Lutz, Heritage Director of Horticulture, and Liz Fort, our Manager of Public Programs. Today, of course, we'll be talking about rhododendrons. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
So I'm kind of excited. Spring is kind of the harbinger of all things wonderful and new here at Heritage. And I guess, Les, we'll start with you and talk a little bit about Rhododendron Festival. I have to tell you that one of the first things I learned here at Heritage was actually how to spell the word.
Oh my gosh, okay.
It's not something that was part of my vernacular in the past, but it's something that's firmly ingrained now, and especially after season one, at least for me here at Heritage. So when actually is Rhododendron? Well, you know what? Let's start with what it is.
Well, it's a festival of celebrating our rhododendron heritage. We have thousands and thousands of plants. Many of them date from our, the 1920s when Dexter was here. This was his private estate from 1921 through 1943. And during that time, he was one of the first people in the country to actually start breeding rhododendrons, and his legacy is now heritage.
What does that mean when you say breeding rhododendrons? I'm sure a lot of people have probably heard that term if they've come to Heritage, and it might be a little bit elusive.
Okay. Well, he collected rhododendrons from friends, from people that traveled, from nurseries, locally as well as internationally, and brought these plants together. And most of these plants were plants that in nature would never have seen each other. And so he actually bred them. He would collect pollen from one species and put it on the stamen of the other species. And he did that thousands of times. And then he grew the seedlings. And those seedlings would be quite different. And in most cases, they were quite different from the parents, and very different, certainly, from anything that would have been found in New England at the time. And so we have thousands of plants that are descendants from his time and his work that are spectacular, beautiful, large, colorful, all the things he was looking for: fragrance, size, color, and things that weren't very common at the time, and even now.
And when you say not very common, are we talking specifically about a range of color, a range of scent, or?
Well, I would say both. At the time, the average rhododendron would have been white to pale pink. With Dexter, we have white through yellow, through deep pink, through almost red, and into purple. And also many of them are quite fragrant. And fragrance is something you don't find, even today in modern rhododendron species, you don't find fragrance.
Now, is it a sweet scent?
It is.
It's a sweet scent? All right.
It's a really wonderful scent. And it depends on the cultivar, because they each have their own characteristics. So.
What time of the year do they typically? I mean, we wouldn't see this in August,
okay.
Or would we?
You might find a couple of stragglers in August, but probably not many, if any. They typically start mid-April, and April 10th, I think, is about the earliest I've seen them. And they peak typically around Memorial Day, and then kind of tail off through mid to late June.
Okay, before I get any further, Liz, I'm going to ask you exactly when is our Rhododendron Festival?
Our Rhododendron Festival this year starts on Saturday, May 25th, and it runs through Sunday, June 2nd.
Now, we have a variety of things that, in addition to just being able to wander on your own, you actually can take advantage of a couple different ways to kind of experience this flower and everything that it has to offer.
Yes, so we have a series of programs that run every day. The first is that you can take a daily rhododendron collection walking tour. Those are led by our terrific horticulture volunteers, and they will kind of take you on a deep dive through the world of rhododendrons. They'll give you some history about Charles Dexter that Les was just telling us about, and they will walk us through some of the most beautiful areas of heritage that have the blooming rhododendrons. Those tours happen each day, twice a day, from 11 to 11:30 and from 2 to 2:30. And they meet at our Dexter Terrace, which is a lovely area. If you haven't been there at Heritage, right kind of towards the carousel, and it's framed by a wall of rhododendrons.
Well, Les, what do you look forward to as far as the season is concerned? Do you look forward to, are there certain plants here on our campus that actually bloom first, or does it all just kind of magically happen at once?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it all magically happens at once. They start off slowly, as I said, typically in mid-April. And it's always really cool to see when the first signs of color show up out in the garden. But beyond that, what do I look for? There are a couple of cultivars that I think are just absolutely spectacular, and they're my favorites. And of course, I look forward to seeing them. And a couple of those are actually in our windmill garden.
Dexter's, you going to share?
Dexter's Spice and Dexter's Honeydew. They have huge flowers. They're both incredibly fragrant. They're just handsome plants. One is a near white and the other is a pale pink. But the flowers, the flower trusses, the collection of flowers can be upwards of 10 to 12 inches across. So they're just massive. And then, of course, the Dexter Garden. And that's the collection of named cultivars, about 150 of them. It's a 2.5 acre garden that's filled with Dexter plants that you can walk under it's just a magical place.
It kind of envelops you, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm, it does, and I think that's something that's really unique at Heritage is that, if you drive around Sandwich or the Cape, you see rhododendrons, but they tend to be that kind of massed large bush. And here at Heritage, we have some of those, but we also have this unique kind of rhododendron forest that's very enchanting. So I don't know, Les, you want to tell them kind of why ours have turned out that way?
Yes, well, actually that area, as with much of Heritage, was planted with the intent that just to let them do their thing and let them grow and their natural form develop. And Dexter, the parent plants of what he used to breed with tended to be large plants in nature. So some of these plants were crossed, and some of these plants are 25 feet tall now because of that genetics. And we allow them to grow. We go through and clean them up every couple of years, but we don't prune them for size. And so you can walk under them because they are 20 to 25 feet tall.
Well, I was actually going to ask you, for those that are listening at home, I've got a massive crop of rhododendrons in my backyard, and they have a will of their own. And every once in a while, I feel that it's time to reclaim my home. So we do prune. But when is the appropriate time to prune them?
I tell people the best time is immediately after they flower. So as soon as they finish flowering. Okay. You can cut them, you can prune them anytime, but if you prune them prior to that, anytime after late July all the way through flowering through the winter, anytime, you're cutting off next year's flowers. So if you wait until they flower, and then usually they start growing about the time they start flowering or just after that, so that's a perfect time to prune them because they'll then start growing and fill back out, and hopefully they won't look like they've been pruned.
Is there any other? I've never really felt like I've given them a terrific amount of attention, but they've enjoyed my love apparently because they do grow. But is there anything that one should do in addition to, I guess, watching them and fertilizing them and enjoying them? Yeah.
Well, they love a maritime climate, and Cape Cod is certainly a maritime climate. They like that. Early morning fog and lots of humidity, and so they do quite well here. Otherwise, other than pruning them, if you want to control them for size, go through, cut the dead wood out, watch for disease problems, which there are not typically too many, and enjoy them.
Well, that sounds like the perfect way to look at them. I want to go ahead and bring Liz into the conversation, talk about another way that we are going to be celebrating rhododendrons this particular year. And we're starting something brand new. I'm going to let you announce it, Liz.
Yes, we are starting something brand new. We're doing a run for the Roadies 5K trail race. And this run is something that my colleague and I, Allie Mulrow, have been kind of tossing around for a couple of years now, and this seems like a great year to roll it out. So Heritage is the perfect place to have a trail race. We have many nature trails throughout Heritage, and a lot of people don't know about them or don't feel like they know where they're going, so they don't go on them. So this is a great chance to really get off the paved paths and take a look at some of our back trail areas. They also happen to be some of the most beautiful rhododendron areas in our garden. A lot of the parent plants that Les was talking about, you'll run through by the lake overlook. You'll run through the Dexter Garden. You'll see some of our outdoor art, as well as just some of the other most beautiful areas in Heritage. So we're doing a 2-loop 5K trail race. It'll go all over the grounds, and it's really going to celebrate this plant, which, as Les was saying, it's pretty magical here.
And for those that might want to, we are asking people to register in advance.
Yes, we are asking people to register in advance. So the race will actually be on Saturday, June 1st, so the second weekend of the Rhododendron Festival. It should hit, hopefully, fingers crossed, right at peak bloom. And the race starts right at 9 o'clock, but we have a kind of pre-registration check-in period from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning. You can register for the race online. There's an early bird discounted rate that happens anytime now through beginning of the festival. There's also a discount for members. And then once you get here at the race, we'll do the race. There's a water station halfway through. We'll give out some really cool wooden race finishers medals that have a new Roadie logo that we've designed here. We'll also have a runner's retreat with samples from local vendors, plenty of water, chances to take a photo op with your family and celebrate your great accomplishment. And we'll also post the results online as well as on a couple of running sites. So it should be a really great opportunity to kind of take advantage of being outside, spring, exercise, being with family. You can walk, run, sprint.
I was going to say, if you want to join me in the walk, I love runs. But we will be doing a walking portion as well.
Yes.
And are there different levels of running, or is it a running pack and then a walker's pack?
So what we'll do is at the lineup for right before the start, we'll let those people that really want to run fast go first, and then kind of the joggers and then the walkers at the end. So we'll be a bit of a staggered start, but there should be plenty of space. The trails are pretty wide in most places for everybody to go at their own pace, and I think it'll be a great way to see the Heritage in all its blooming glory. And then the other great thing is you get admission with this registration. So after the race, you can stay with your family and enjoy, take photos, walk back to some of your favorite spots that you checked out during the run. We'll have a lot of our photo frames out so you can take selfies or family photos just in one of the most beautiful areas around Heritage as well. I also forgot to mention that when we were talking about kind of care and pruning and how do we take care of our rhododendrons, we also have a program that runs throughout the week of the festival that will be led by Les or Laura Swain, one of our other senior gardeners, and it's called Rhododendron Care and Pruning. It happens each day except for Memorial Day, and that happens from 12 to 12:30, and again, we'll kind of focus on how do we best care for these unique plants.
Terrific. Now, anybody wanting a little bit more information about learning about the walks, learning about the festival, or registering for the walk, run, the 5K, definitely go to our website, which is heritagemuseums.org, and you can learn everything that you need from the website. I would encourage everybody to go to the calendar section and plug that in. Again, Liz, what are the exact dates of the festival again?
The festival runs Saturday, May 25th through Sunday, June 2nd. And there are programs happening every day, but of course you can just wander around from 10 to 5 every day here at Heritage.
Well, do you have any closing thoughts on any of this?
It's a pretty spectacular display, and it's well worth seeing if you haven't seen it before.
And even if you have, I mean, every year it's a little bit different.
Every year it's different, and I think this year will be a really good year. We've had a relatively mild winter, and that usually means the flower is even more spectacular.
All right, so yay spring.
Yay, spring.
All right, thank you both for joining us, and thank you for joining us for this episode of the Insider at Heritage Museums and Gardens. Again, we've been talking to Les Lutz, Heritage's Director of Horticulture, and Liz Fort, our Manager of Public Programs. Today's interview has been brought to you by our season sponsors, Arbella Insurance Foundation and Cape Cod 5. You can hear more interviews like this one by finding us on iTunes. And of course, more information about Heritage Museums and Gardens and upcoming programming can all be found on our website at heritagemuseums.org. Until next time, thank you so much for listening.